The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The following program contains mature content. Any opinions expressed are those solely of the host and any guests. Listener discretion strongly advised.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wyce Thoguhts. Your weekly virtual campfire sit-down to get in the know. Each episode of Wyce Thoguhts is a virtual campfire sit-down. I invite you to come on in and hear what's on my mind. And hey, make sure you check out the website, wycethoguhts.com, W-Y-C-E. Just make sure you spell my name right, wycethoguhts.com. There you can listen to more episodes of the podcast. Check out the blog, Wyce Life. And check out so much more. It's all at wycethoguhts.com. If you want to follow me at Twitter, you want to tweet at me on Twitter, it's at Terry Wyce. This time on the program, a $30 million lottery scam you may not have heard about. And is common sense becoming uncommon? Let's talk about it this time on Wyce Thoguhts. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and get ready for another episode of Wyce Thoguhts. Coming up in just a bit. You stay right there.
Wearing his sunglasses indoors just because he wants to. Let's get back to the program. Here's your host, Terry Wyce.
Hey everybody, welcome to another installment of Wyce Thoguhts. I am so glad you decided to spend some of your valuable time with me today. Got lots coming up on the program for you. And hey, if you like the podcast, would you do me a solid, do me a favor, as solid as the youngsters say. I'll say do me a favor as everyone else on the planet says. Would you leave us a positive rating and review on the podcast platform you happen to be listening on, please? I would really appreciate it. And also, could you share us with your friends? We'd appreciate that if you would do that for us here at Wyce Thoguhts. Get the word out about the program, because you know what? You are our best advertising. Yeah, we have a commercial here and there on the podcast to kind of help offset some things. But you know what? The best way to get the word out about this show is you, the person out there listening right now. So tell your friends, share us with your friends and family and your pets. Tell them all about Wyce Thoguhts. Go to the website, wycethoguhts.com, W-Y-C-E. wycethoguhts.com is my website. Check it out over there. Visit the blog portion of the website called Wyce Life. I just give you some random musings on observations and things that I happen to encounter. And also got a Facebook page. Just look for Wyce Thoguhts, facebook.com/Wyce Thoguhts. Also have a YouTube channel for musical lessons and things of that nature. Just search for Wyce Thoguhts on YouTube. Okay, great. I think that's it, right? That's all we got for you for that. So this time around on the program, I want to talk to you about something that you might not be aware of. I found this out through an Apple News article a little while back, and I've actually been wanting to bring this into the podcast, but other things have kind of pushed their way to the forefront. However, first off, I hope you had a great holiday, Thanksgiving here and all that good stuff. I hope you didn't eat too much turkey and that, and had some good football games that were on. There were some good football games on. But anyway, this story was actually, it just blew me away when I read it on Apple News. It's courtesy of one of the papers in Apple News. It's about a 30 million with an M, $30 million lottery scam that was going on way back. It started back in 2017. Now, obviously, it's been going on for a while. And I'm going to read you some of the story here. And I was like, holy moly guacamole, as they say. I was just blown away that this was happening. And it was out of the Atlantic under their culture section. I mean, I don't really give too much stock in the Atlantic. Some of their stuff is real trash. But this one kind of caught me by off guard. It's by Jeff Mayish, M-A-Y-S-H, Jeff Mayish. It's about the article is called The $30 Million Lottery Scam. Check this out. Have a listen, all right? One June morning in 2017, an Albanian-American real estate broker named Victor Gunja parked outside a strip mall in Sterling Heights, a small suburb on the outskirts of Detroit. He hurried past the meat shop, through the waft of spices and at the Indian grocery store and into the claim office of the Michigan State Lottery. Victor, who is 6'5", loomed over the front desk in his designer Italian shoes, his dark hair slicked back and glistening in the fluorescent light, and announced that he had won the daily 4 lottery draw twice a day since, get this, since 1981. The Michigan Lottery has drawn 4 numbers, ping pong balls, from a plastic tank and paid up to $5,000 to any player with the same 4 digits on their pink ticket. Well, Victor did not have 1 winning ticket. He had 500 winning tickets. 500! All right? So, skeptical, the lottery officials ushered him into the back office and checked his tickets carefully. Each was genuine and contained the 4 winning numbers, 7800, drawn on June 18th, back in 2017. The odds of winning were just 1 in 416, so not terribly long by lottery standards. But it was extremely unusual for someone to play the same numbers 500 times in one day. There were other red flags. Most people who present themselves at the lottery claim centers are ecstatic. Yet this winner waited for his prizes with the impatience of someone picking up dry cleaning. It took the staff six hours to cut 500 checks for $5,000 each. Then Victor tucked them away inside of his jacket, and just basically roared away in his Lincoln Navigator, richer by $2.5 million. So he had 500 winning tickets at $5,000 each for $2.5 million. So since he was a little boy, Victor Gunji, that is again pronounced, let's see, let me get the correct pronunciation of this for us, Jony, Jonye, is how they're giving a phonetic pronunciation of Victor's last name, Jony, had a real head for numbers. His parents emigrated to the United States from Montenegro and spoke little English. So it was a 12-year-old Victor who handled the sale of their home in Sterling Heights, in an area populated by many Yugoslavians and Albanians. As a teenager, he haggled so aggressively for a used car that the owner promised him a job in his real estate firm the day after Victor's 18th birthday, because of he became a full-time agent basically at that place. Every day, fear played a role in it, he later said on a community television chat show, but he added, I knew deep down inside that I was going to figure it out and I was going to eventually be successful. By the time he was in his 30s, he had become one of the busiest commercial real estate brokers in Detroit, negotiating deals for giants like Walmart and several Taco Bells and Burger King. So the man obviously had a good work ethic. He was aggressive, he was determined, and he just put his nose to the grindstone. He charmed clients with meals at fine restaurants and liked to recite poetry. He was also a ruthless deal maker who began his days before 6 a.m. and was known for his catchphrase, "People lie, numbers don't." In his relentless drive to make money, Junyi took risks and cut corners. He liked to flip paper, as it were. He'd enter into a contract to buy, let's say, a $1.2 million tract of dollar worth of land, $1.2 million tract of land, and then quickly find a buyer to assume the purchase for $1.4 million, pocketing the difference. Now, this isn't and wasn't illegal, but it required nerves of steel. He just pushed the edges and the boundaries that he really didn't need to. Randy Thomas, who employed Victor in the 2000s, says he wanted to be the man. At his home, Victor and his wife, Rose, doted on their young daughters. Together, they have 3, and he has a 4th from a previous relationship. To blow off steam, he had spent many nights downing vodka and Red Bulls at a restaurant named Ternustu. He loved to play Club Keno, a $1 minimum lottery game with live drawings every few minutes. The owner let him play alone at the bar after closing time. That's where that's where he says, I fell in love with the algorithm of numbers, he told me as I interviewed him. Victor was convinced that the draws weren't purely random. He developed a smartphone app that he thought predicted winning numbers based on patterns in previous draws. A $52,000 win seemed to confirm that belief. So here's a guy who's got a head for numbers to begin with, uber intelligent, a go-getter with a great work ethic, develops a smartphone app that, based on algorithms of past lotteries, thinks he can predict, and it looks like he was predicting the lottery. After his father died on Father's Day in 2015, Victor's gambling escalated. Then the restaurant that he used to play the Keno at closed. He found himself in busy restaurants screaming at bartenders to run his numbers. He decided this was not a good look for a man who was rubbing shoulders with local business leaders, so he quit playing. He later switched to the Michigan Lottery Daily 4, which can pay up to $5,000, and the Daily 3 paying up to $500. A Daily 4 ticket costs $1 or up to $24 for a wheel, what's called a wheel play, which turns any combination of the chosen 4 numbers into a winner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, etc. This improved his odds from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 416 for a 24-way bet. Victor said he discovered a strange phenomena in the results posted on the Michigan Lottery website. When a certain number came out, my number would be shortly thereafter, he said. He built charts and spreadsheets and that he believed gave him the early warning system for winning numbers. He gambled lightly on 4742, parlaying any winning number onto 0078, a number that in his charts that often followed. Then came the shapes. Victor noticed that the dates of lucky draws, scrawling an X on his calendar that he believed predicted when the number was due again. Victor had only won a few $100,000, he estimates, until June of 2017, when he noticed that number 7800 tended to appear at least once or twice a year. Believing that the number 7800 was due, he started to buy 300 to 1,000 $12 tickets every day. His numbers didn't come up until June 15th, 16th, or 17th. But on the 18th, his numbers rather didn't come up on June 15th, 16th, or the 17th. But on the 18th, he hit the numbers big time, collecting $2.5 million from the claim center. Victor bought his lottery tickets from Pichello's Liquor and Deli, a type of alcohol and tobacco shop known in Michigan as a party store. The store's owners, like all Michigan lottery retailers, received 6% of the cut, for ticket sales and 2% commissions on prize money. According to an investigation by the Detroit Business Press, Victor's activity helped boost daily Ford ticket sales at the establishment from 51,745 in 2015 to 1.3 million by 2016. So just him playing there, people kind of word of mouth getting out, they boosted the people that would go play the lottery at this location. Now, the lottery terminals at Picillo's were running day and night, printing more than 3.92 million tickets a year at a rate of one ticket every 8 seconds. When his spreadsheets told him that the numbers 2706 were due in November of 2017, Victor instructed Picillo's to print 800 wheeled tickets at $24 each, spending a total of $19,200. That night, the store called him to say he'd won $4 million, but Victor didn't celebrate. Nobody in my family knew what I was doing, he said. You shake it off and you get back to work. So basically, he had a system and an algorithm and everything going. The problem was that the patterns existed entirely in his head. For all of his huge wins, he was losing a massive amounts of money as well, according to the article, sinking hundreds of thousands of dollars into his theory that certain numbers repeated themselves. Mathematically speaking, the theory is bunk, says Mark Glickman, a senior lecturer on statistics at Harvard University, says, drawings from day to day are what statistics would describe as being independent. The Michigan Lottery, after all, pulls numbers from a bunch of bouncing ping pong balls, not electronic software that could, in theory, be governed by an algorithm. Victor became quickly addicted to the high of huge wins. Whenever he seemed to be on the brink of losing everything, he'd hit a jackpot. When he was up, he was on top of the world. And then when he was in the hole, he was only one big win away from glory. He told himself that his losses wouldn't matter if he made one big score. He just needed a way to keep buying as many tickets as possible. So basically then what he did in 2017, he set up a real estate company, and basically he took on a partner, and his gambling kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. He brought in this other gentleman, a friend of his, a longtime friend, and asked him if he'd like to be rich. He gave him some numbers. He kind of got him involved in it. And basically between the two, they started winning, millions of dollars, $9 million jackpots, $6 million in tickets, another $3.5 million from a different store in the area. They kind of spread everything out. So the long and the short of this, I know you're probably asking yourself, all right, Terry, so why are you telling me about this? Because you said the lottery scam. Well, basically what happened is he got convicted of wire fraud. So basically, in March 2021, Victor pleaded guilty to one charge of wire fraud and agreed to make restitution to the victims in the amount of $25,299,120 and to forfeit $19,025,000. However, it would be almost impossible for his victims to collect, as Victor is broke and his family is in distress because of it. The moral of the story was he started defrauding people from his real estate company and such, to feed an addictive lottery addiction. So I guess the moral of the story is while it's okay to play the lottery, don't get too addicted to the lottery. And I say this in light of the recent whirlwind behind the Powerball jackpot. Now, I went and spent $10 on it, and then, when nobody won, I dropped another 10 on the same numbers because none of our numbers had come in, but that was it. I mean, I sunk $20 into the Powerball, and at the end of the day, I threw $20 away. Big deal, okay? It's the folks out there that are kind of prone to addiction or easily get addicted to something, because I'll tell you, when you're gambling that high, and it can happen. I've known people that have been addicted to gambling, and many years ago when I was in my early 20s, I worked at a company where a guy, it was a retail establishment, and I will not mention the name of it, and I will not mention the individual's name, but he was addicted to cocaine and gambling, and we would get our checks every 2 weeks, and basically sometimes he would disappear for 3 or 4 days when he got paid, because he'd go on a gambling and coke bender. Now, I don't know whatever happened to the gentleman. He was the nicest guy you ever want to meet in the world, but he had a bookie and everything else. It just leads to trouble. It just absolutely leads to trouble. And I'll tell you, it's just something that you don't want to get yourself involved in at all when you get into gambling and things like that. So that's just that was like the $30 million lottery scam, basically kind of just giving you a little background of what happened with how some people got taken that were unfortunate victims of this person's real estate company and kind of got, snookered out of money, and how this man destroyed his family and his daughter's future and everything else, and brought shame upon his family. Be careful. I know there's a lot of advertising out there now with the lottery games. You got these sports betting things now. I mean, if you watch any kind of football game or even hockey games, they're talking about sports betting. The government now has kind of paved the way for these companies to advertise to you. There's like DraftKings and all this other stuff. Now, again, they're businesses. They're just doing what they do, doing business. You can go to Vegas and legally gamble. All I'm saying is you've got to be very, very, very careful. And if you have an addictive personality, stay the hell away. We're going to take a short break. I'll be right back right after this, and we're going to talk about why common sense is not so common in the United States anymore. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the show. If you want to contact me, you can tweet at me on Twitter at Terry Wyce. You can also follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Wyce Thoguhts. And if you want to check out my YouTube channel, just search for Wyce Thoguhts on YouTube. Now, let's get back to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Wyce Thoguhts. So we were talking about in the first part of the program the $30 million lottery scam and the dangers of that. So hopefully some of you out there will take heed, or you might know someone maybe you kind of keep an eye out on, or maybe it might be a cautionary tale for you yourself. Oh, what are we going to... So common sense in the United States of America. I wrote about this on Wyce Life, the blog over at wycethoguhts.com. Just look for the blog, and the blog is titled Wyce Life, W-Y-C, Wyce Life, at my website at wycethoguhts.com, if you want to check that out. And I've kind of been, ruminating, thinking about, rolling over and over again in my mind, that the idea that common sense in the U.S. is just, it doesn't seem so common anymore. Haven't you noticed that? Have you looked around and noticed that some people are just, they seem dumber than a box of rocks? Some of the examples that I cited in the blog, just to give you a couple, how many of you out there work for an employer or have worked for an employer or maybe working for an employer now? They'll go out and they'll put out policies. They'll say, this is our policy, and you do it A, B, and C, and this is how you do it. If you have any questions, contact the supervisor, but if you see this, do A, B, and C. So let's say you're said employee and you go, oh, the situation has arisen. I'm going to do A, B, and C. And then a few days later, you either get a nasty gram email, or you get a phone call, or you get called into your supervisor's office and say, hey, why did you do this when this situation arose? Hello, you sent out a memo about this 2 weeks ago to do it. Oh. Hello, common sense. You sent out the parameters, and now you can't remember you did it? Are you that overworked, Mr. Supervisor, Miss Supervisor? You can't remember your own company's policies? Or maybe you shouldn't be in the position you're in if you can't, kind of keep on top of things like you expect your underlings to do. Some other things, just politically, the lack of common sense for many of you voters out there that think voting for the same people over and over again that haven't done jack shit for this country, the U.S. I'm talking about, in their 2 terms prior, and then they come out there, backslapping and glad-handing you and yucking it up. Oh, I'm going to change. I've changed this time. I liken politicians saying they're going to change and really work for the people to, the abusive guy who's beating the shit out of his girlfriend or his wife, and she's like, well, he loves me and he didn't mean it. That's what I liken politicians to. Because if you honestly think that they're going to change now their second or third term around when they didn't keep their promises the first and second time through, but you still keep voting for them, that, my friends, is a big lack of common sense. And you really got to kind of maybe look at yourself in the mirror and say, maybe I'm the problem. Just common sense things that people just don't, and I'm not just talking about, there's a fire, I shouldn't stick my hand in it. I'm talking about you've heard that expression, people say, well, they're book smart and street stupid. We've got a lot of book smart and a lot of street stupid people here in the United States, and that's just the way I see it, my friends. There's a lot of you. They're just, I don't understand how you can convert oxygen into carbon dioxide, because some of you, I don't know how you live through the day without stepping in front of a train and just saying, well, look at the pretty train coming at me. And just all you have to do is look around society, the way we're ripping apart institutions, with this pronouns, thee, they, them, us, I, who, we, what. Well, there's no such thing as male and female. Bullshit, okay? I don't ascribe to this woke cult thought tank that says there's no such thing between a woman, difference between a man and a woman, a male and a female. There is a difference between a male and a female. And if you don't believe that, then you're the problem. Something's wrong with you. Now, I am not saying that people can't change. People change sexes all the time. Okay, they've done it throughout history. There's gay and lesbian people, and people that are born men that become women, want to become women, and women that want to become men. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm talking about these non-binary dipshits out there that say, well, I don't identify as male or female. I'm they, them. No, you're fucked up is what you are, in my humble opinion. You need mental help. And you should seek psychiatric mental help immediately. God love you. We're pulling for you. Please go get help so you can find out and decide what you are, male or female. This neutrality thing, I'm sorry, all this is a way to hide from being an adult, being a human being. And again, it's my humble opinion, as stated by the show. Let's just be real and down to earth here, folks. You're either male or you're female. You're not, in the middle. This isn't there's very few, and almost every higher primate, mammal, and that are male or female. Okay? When's the last time you saw a lion at the zoo prancing back and forth going, yes, I'm not a lion, I'm not a female or a male, I'm a that. I mean, this is how asinine this stuff is to me. And, some of you out there may think I'm coming off as ignorant, but folks, again, common sense is not so common in the United States anymore. Let's get back to common sense. And I'm not saying, again, let me stress this for clarity. If you want to change your gender, fine. If you want to be gay, fine. Be gay all day long, change your gender, flip it back and forth, whatever. But you're either one or the other. You're not both. Okay? It's just not the way, whether you want to call it God, the universe, what have you. It is just not biologically sound that you are born neutral. You may feel that way, but science and biology doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. Science is science. You're either born male or you're born female. And again, if you want to change that, if you don't, if you are attracted to the females, or if you're not attracted to the opposite sex, fine. That's that. Hey man, that's your gig. That's your thing. More power to you. You do you. But this, like I said, this cultist escapism of they, them, us, we, that, though, it all it is, to me, psychedelic, insane doublespeak. I mean, I think the people have just something mentally wrong with them. And they need some help. And we as a society should reach out to try and help these people so they can decide what they are. I was born a human being, but I identify as a tomato. What? I mean, you understand what I'm saying? It's just not right. It's not right. Now, I know some of you are out there saying, well, Terry, who are you to decide what's right? It's not me that's deciding what's right, my friends. It's a few 100,000 years of evolution, okay? Let me pull the evolution card. It's a few 100,000 years of evolution that are deciding what's right. Not me. evolution, God, the universe, Allah, Buddha, whomever, and Confucius, whoever you want to point to. That's what I'm saying is what's right. So, I mean, just the lack of common sense in this country. And again, energy policies, just again, another common sense example I can pull. The United States has one of the largest caches or stashes or however you want to pronounce it or label it. We have one of the largest reserves of oil and natural gas in this nation. But yet, a few people running around saying, the environment. We're panhandling overseas with countries that despise us and would love to see us destroyed and giving them money for something that we can drill for safely, cleanly, and better than these countries and go through. Now, I'm not saying, just rip up everything and then, tally-ho and screw the environment, but we've proven we can do it in a safe manner 90% to 95% of the time, and that the oil coming out of the ground in the U.S. and the natural gas, all that is 80 to 90% cleaner than these countries that we're going to panhandle from and pay, be extorted to pay high prices for. But the current administration in office doesn't care because I feel, again, my opinion feels that there's some kind of kickback going to them and they're getting some type of financial gain from it. That's, again, just my opinion. You may have a different one, but it just seems really odd to me. A few short years ago, we were almost energy independent again. Energy prices were down. There were no major things with environmental, disasters here in the U.S. Everything was kind of going along pretty damn good. And then this other administration takes over, and they just take it like you take your arm across a chessboard and just knock everything askew and say, the hell with it, because we got a radical woke agenda and we're cultists. And, I got news for you, folks, and I've said it on past programs here on Wyce Thoguhts. We are so narcissistically arrogant to think we as a species can change this planet forever. The only way we could do that is if we detonated all the countries that have nuclear weapons, detonated them all at once. Yeah, then we can have a nuclear winter and destroy this planet. But barring that, honestly, the universe, God, whatever entity you want to believe, this planet has been here for hundreds and millions of years, and it most likely will be long after all of us are gone. It heals itself. It goes in cycles. All this running around, global warming. Then it gets cold. Oh, global killing. Oh. If you listen to some of these cultist, radical cult people that are in the environmental movement, the oceans should have swallowed up New York and California by now. That was supposed to happen in the 80s and the 90s, and then the 2000s, and then the 2010s. And as far as I know, they're still there, those cities, because I know people there. I can think back in my own life growing up. We had some winters that were really unusually warm and mild, and then we had a season, and by a season I mean a stretch of years, where they were nasty as heck and lots of snow and cold and everything else. Ebbs and tides. That's the way this planet, breathes, and it rejuvenates itself because the planet itself is a living organism. We just happen to be on it, okay, and living on it. But, you get these wacko environmentalists, that think, if I just one styrofoam cup, that's going to save everybody. Again, I've talked on past programs on Wyce Thoguhts. You could get 10% or 20% of the nations of the world to agree to a strict climate stuff and make their people suffer and everything else. And then the other countries that don't, you don't think that their pollution isn't going to spread around the globe? I likened it, and I'll use the same example that I've used in the past. You're living next door to someone. They decide to burn tires in their yard. You don't think that fucking smoke is going to come near your yard if there's a wind blowing your way? You think just because you recycle and you aren't burning tires that you've got some kind of invisible shield that's going to protect you? Bullshit. So, just look around you. Common sense. People not raising their kids. They stick them on tablets, from the time they come out of the vagina don't want to spend time with their kids. They got them hustled off to this club, this sporting event, this sport. Not just sitting down and genuinely spending time and getting to know your children and raising your children and teaching your children. And then they wonder why when their kids grow up that some of them commit mass shootings or some of them can't hold a goddamn job, and they sit there and scratch their head as the parent go, I don't know what happened. Because you didn't raise your children. You didn't give them common sense. That's what happened. Oh. Well, let me know what you think on the show notes here. If you're listening through the website, or you can send me an email at mail, M-A-I-L, mail at wycethoughts.com. I welcome your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. Thanks for spending some of your time with me today on the program. Again, if you want to tweet at me on Twitter, it's at Terry Wyce. Go to the website, wycethoughts.com, W-Y-C-E, wycethoughts.com. There you can listen to more episodes of the podcast. Give us a rating and review. Share us with your friends. And like I always tell you, my friends, if you want to see a change in the world that's positive, you've got to be that positive change in the world. It all starts with you, the person looking back at you in the mirror every morning. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And I'll catch you on the next episode of Wyce Thoughts.